Reading slumps suck. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Venus and today we are doing the Midyear Freakout book tag. It's been a minute. I've been in a reading slump. It has sucked, but I'm slowly getting it together, getting out of the slump. So let's talk about all the good things and not so good things that I've read so far this year. Question number 1, best book you read so far in 2022. This is kind of hard. I've read quite a few really good 5-star books. I can't quite choose my favorite yet, but I'm just going to list a couple of them. 11/22/63 by Stephen King is definitely going to be in my top 5 so far of 2022. I still think about that book. I think the writing in it was fantastic. The storytelling, the characters, the time travel, everything about it made me cry at the end. So it just was a fantastic book. So that definitely popped into my head right away. And then a book that I recently read that I thought was really, really good, and I'll talk more about in my June wrap-up, but that is Upgrade by Blake Crouch. I thought that book was phenomenal, but I'm going to reserve my thoughts for that until my June wrap-up. So right now, those are the two that are sticking out to me in my head. And of course, I started reading Robin Hobb, so Royal Assassin and Assassin's Quest. I get these mixed up. Assassin's Apprentice and Royal Assassin. I've read the first 2 books so far in the Farseer trilogy, and I'm loving them. So those are up there as well. Question number 2 is best sequel you read so far in 2022. I'm going to mention Royal Assassin again by Robin Hobb. I thought that book, it started out, I was a little nervous. I felt like it was a little slow initially, and then it picked up, and the ending was so good. I'm not even going to spend time on it. Robin Hobb is fantastic. She's known for her prose writing, and everything that you've heard people say about her, for me, has been 100% accurate. So definitely Royal Assassin. I thought that was a fantastic sequel. But also The Hunger of the Gods by John Gwynne. I also felt like that was a phenomenal sequel that is Norse-inspired fantasy, and once again, I loved it just as much as the first book. Question number 3, new release you haven't read yet but want to. I had a hard time trying to think of this, an answer for this question, because I've pretty much stayed on top of new releases that have come out that I've wanted to read, but a book that I keep putting off on my TBR that I know just came out this year that I still haven't read yet. I was supposed to read it in June, but that's a whole nother thing. But that is Dead Silence by S.A. Barnes. This is a sci-fi fantasy book. It takes place in space. It's like a ghost ship, and that's all I know. But I really want to read this. I've heard so many good reviews about it, and I'm really, really hoping to get to it finally in July. Question number 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. And I'm going to say Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I love most of her books except for Malibu Rising, so I'm really excited to read this. I was approved for a ARC for this, which I was very surprised, so I'm hoping to read that soon. I think it comes out in August. Another book that I am excited to check out at the second half of this year is Babel by R.F. Kuang. I did not read The Poppy War. My TBR list is just insane, so I haven't read it, but the synopsis for her upcoming book, Babel, sounds really, really cool to me. It's a dark academia fantasy, which it just sounds good. So I think I'm going to check that out and see if I like her writing. Number 5, biggest disappointment. I've talked about this book a million times on my channel, so I'm not going to spend any time on it. But House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. I hated that book. Another book that I was really disappointed by was Something Wilder by Christina Lauren. I did not like that book. I did not like the turn that it took. It didn't even really feel like a romance to me that much. And yeah, I was severely disappointed by that book. I think I gave it like 2 stars. Thriller book that I was really excited to read was Night Shift. I can't think of the author right now, but I'll post a picture of it. It was pitched as a thriller book with a blockbuster setting, and I thought it was going to have all these like 90s vibes. And the murder took place in Blockbuster in the very beginning of the book, and then it jumped to current time. And it wasn't all that great. The twists were kind of lame. So that was another disappointment for me. Biggest surprise would definitely have to be Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. I love that book so much. I gushed about it in my May wrap up, so you can definitely check that out. Me just going on like a little mini review rant on that, but that was definitely a huge surprise for me. I loved it. It was a fantasy book, and it had an orc in it and coffee, and it was just, I loved it. So that was definitely a huge surprise for me. Question number 7, favorite new author, debut, or new to you? So I'm going to say for this, John Gwynne. I just started reading his books this year, and I am in love with his writing. He's a fantasy author. I've read Shadow of the Gods and Hunger of the Gods and loved both of them so much. And also Blake Crouch. He is a sci-fi writer, and I absolutely loved Dark Matter and Upgrade, which comes out in July. Both of his books that I've read so far have been phenomenal. So perfect, like just my kind of sci-fi with just enough science, jargon, and reality mixed in to where you almost feel like the situations that his characters get into could actually possibly happen. So I love when sci-fi books do that, and he is definitely a new favorite author for me. Question number 8, new fictional crush. No, I don't have one of those. Question number 9, new favorite character. I am going to say Cal from Legends and Lattes. I just thought his character was so funny, and I don't know if it's because of the audiobook or just his grumpiness that was portrayed and through his actions and his dialogue, but I just loved him so much. I still think about him. I don't know what he was. I think he was a hobgoblin in this book, but the way that I pictured him in my mind and how he sounded in the audiobook, I just loved his character so much. He was like grumpy on the outside, but warm and tender-hearted, and yeah, he was definitely one of my favorite characters so far. And I'll definitely have to say Fitz from the Farseer trilogy. I love him so much. I'm going to be crushed when his story ends, and he's been through so much already in the first 2 books that I've read. And I adore him. I think his character arc is fantastic, and the growth that he's had so much already in the first 2 books that I've read is just phenomenal. So I am really looking forward to seeing where his character goes, and I know I'm going to be crushed at some point, but he's definitely a new favorite character for me. Question number 10, book that made you cry. This is definitely plural. I cry a lot, so it doesn't take much, but I'm just going to list them because there was already quite a few so far this year. So let's see. The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. 11/22/63 by Stephen King. Reminders of Him, I Bawled My Eyes Out by Colleen Hoover. Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee. I also bawled my eyes out on that book. And then most recently in June, Upgrade by Blake Crouch. I got super emotional at the end of that book. That's all I'm going to say because I don't want to spoil it, but I had to like put it down and collect myself to finish the last 10 pages. So yeah, that was actually a surprise for me, but again, it doesn't take much though. So question number 11, book that made you happy. Legends and Lattes. Love that book so much. I literally just felt so happy and warm and fuzzy after I finished that, so that's definitely one of them. And also Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I haven't read too many romance books so far this year, but that was definitely one of my favorites, and I still think about it. It's a book that I would definitely reread and revisit, and it's definitely going to be on my top 10 so far for 2022. I'm pretty sure, unless something phenomenal happens for the rest of the year, but those are 2 of the books that I've read that have made me happy. Question number 12, most beautiful book you've bought so far this year or received. Definitely The Hunger of the Gods by John Gwynne. I mean, this cover is so pretty, and then, you know, opening it up and it even extends. It's just such a cool cover. So definitely this one. I just really loved how cool this cover was. The Carol Hunt by Darcy Coates. I haven't read it yet, but it's just really creepy looking. I don't know. That's the reason why I bought it, honestly. I've heard good things about this author. I've only read 1 book by her, but I saw this in the bookstore and I just thought it was cool. So hopefully the inside is just as good as the cover, but I will find out in July because sneak peek, this is on my Summerween July TBR. So, and another cover that I really, really love is Empire of Silence by Christopher Rocchio. I don't know, I just thought this cover was so cool. I am excited to read this. It's a space or sci-fi fantasy space opera, I'm assuming, but look at that little hand down there grabbing like that sword lightsaber thing. I don't know what it is, but I'm looking forward to reading this. So I thought that cover was cool too. Question number 13, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? There's so many. There's so many books on my TBR. I have started the reread of Game of Thrones, so I definitely want to finish that. I've started Lord of the Rings. I definitely want to finish that. I want to continue on with Robin Hobb books, so definitely after the Farseer trilogy, I want to jump into, I think it's called Mad Ship Trilogy, Live Ship Trilogy. I don't remember, but the next trilogy after the Farseer trilogy, I definitely want to read that. Lots of more horror books, and yeah, new Stephen King book. I forgot to mention, Fairy Tale. I'm so pumped to read that. Can't wait for that to come out. There's just, it's an endless list, okay? We'd be here all day, so there's a lot of books that I'm hoping to get to by the end of the year. Hey, we've got 6 more months left, so I'm hoping I can get to most of them, but we'll see. And, oh geez, and I have the 12 books remaining on my 22 books of 2022 that I want to read. Yeah, there's 12 of those, so it's a long list. But that's all I got. It's good to be back. I had to take a little break because I was in a really bad reading slump thanks to a certain book that I tried to push through and ended up DNFing. So you'll hear about that in my June wrap up. If you watched my vlog for Stephen King's Pet Sematary and you saw the book that I intended to vlog about after that, you will know which book I'm talking about. But it put me in a really bad reading slump. So, but I'm back at it. I'm reading Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Rings. I'm already in love. The audiobook is fantastic. So hopefully I'm back in the swing of things. It's good to be back. Thank you for stopping by. And I'm sorry for my absence. I also became a grandmother, by the way. So that happened. So I'm really a grandma booktuber. So, but yep, it was a busy month. June was fun, and I can't wait to see what the rest of the year brings with books and read-alongs and some fun stuff with a couple of my fellow booktubers that I'm excited to share soon once we lock in some more information. So thank you guys, as always, for stopping by. If this is your first time here, please hit that like and subscribe button. If it's not your first time here, please hit that like button. I will see you guys again soon. See ya.